Hi guys, I'll be doing the green spoilers video for the Boujack Brigade new leader. So let's get right into it. The leader, what it does is when it does attack, it draws one card, very basic. It does have an activate main, which makes it this leader stand out. Basically, you place one green Boujack Brigade card from your hand face up on the Z deck. This is a very cool mechanic because you need to be able to put two Boujack cards in your life or in your Z deck. And then by doing so, you're able to awaken, untap one, and draw one. So that's important. But the activate main to finish it off is you look at the top 5 cards for any green Bojack card and add it to your hand. So a lot of setup already happening in the front side of this leader. And so once you're able to awaken, you untap one, draw one. Let's go into, and then you also have to take life until you have 6. Let's go into the backside here. The backside says whenever a green Bojack Brigade is played, draw one card. So this is a cycle effect, meaning that if you play one on your turn and then one on your opponent's turn, you are able to generate a +2 over the course of one cycle. The auto ability is the one where he gets to restand himself by when he does attack, is by placing 3 face-up Bojack Brigade cards from your Z deck in your drop. So because you're feeling your Z deck pretty frequently every turn, once you're awakened, it's very difficult to do so, but the way you do so is by KOing stuff. Using Time for the Slaughter to begin is one of those cards where whenever one of your Bojack card is KO'd by one of your skills, you may place that card from your drop face up into the Z deck. So this allows you to basically have the ability to restand the leader when it does attack, and it gets 1k power for only one battle. So the first attack gets the 25k, and the second attack gets only 15k, since it's only once per turn. He does have another ability here on the activate battle. If it is your opponent's turn, you can KO one of your green Bojack cards, and this card gets plus 10k power for the battle. So a lot of boosts that you can have to this leader, even on your opponent's turn. So it's kind of like a way so that your leader can combo with cards in rest mode, essentially, but it's comboing for 10k, which is really nice. Let's finish off reading off Time for Slaughter Begin. It does have another really good ability where you're able to play a green Bojack Brigade with an energy cost of 1 from your hand in rest mode. So the Bojack 1 costs are normally going to be played by the Zangya. There are 3 of them. One of them is a promo. I decided to include the promo in this particular deck because I found that when I was testing this deck, it would run out of 1-drops really easily to play from my hand. So why not increase the number of 1 costs from my hand that I can play? So I think in my personal experience that you do need to have 4 Zangyas from the promo that comes out of the tournament pack. So be on the lookout for that, so that you can play this deck efficiently, in my opinion. So the one drops that came out of the set is Zangya Lone Female Space Pirate. This is a card where it is played. Look at the top 5 cards for a Bojack Brigade that costs 4 or less, and add it to your hand. So you won't be able to add the 8-drop Bojacks that are the boss monsters of this deck. The boss cards are going to be the Tournament Assault, and as well as the Unleashed Space Pirate. We'll get into that later, but once she is KO'd, she can get to choose one of those green Bojacks that costs energy of 8 and gains critical for the turn. This has that ability, and this one also has that ability, but the counterpart is that this one draws a card, much like the other ones in the past. Archetypes like to abuse this kind of mechanic where you look at the top 5 cards of your deck and look for a Bojack card, and the other one is like the one that lets you draw a card. So it seems to be a pattern in design. Let's go into the promo. It does the same thing as the other Zangya. It draws a card. However, when this one is KO'd by one of your skills, you get to choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in unison and can't attack for the turn. So this is the one that you want to KO on your opponent's turn using the backside of your leader to KO a Bojack Brigade card. Because once you're able to KO a Bojack Brigade, he gets the 10k power for the battle. And then on top of that, you can also control your opponent's battle cards in unison, and it can't attack for the turn. So it's kind of like incorporating some of what yellow kind of already does, but this is going to be a green leader instead. So that's going to be kind of nice there. So I decided to play 4 copies of that. I play a total of 12 1-drop Zangyas. The other 1-drops out of the deck are going to be Bujin. Bujin is the free negate. It's a limit 1, although I do play 4 copies of it because you do want to see it. It is a card that basically acts as a free negate, because once you have 3 face-up Bojack Brigade cards in your Z deck, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand by adding a card from your life to your hand instead of paying the energy cost. So sort of like a kind of Sparking 5 power where you're able to take life down. Since you are going down to 6 life, you do want to go down to 5 so that you can activate Homicidal Clones. I only play 2 copies of it because I want to see more of the Bujin. This card works a little bit better in the sense that it is a Bojack card that you can search, so that's why I decided to play 4 copies of this. The other Bujin card is also a counter skill. This one basically allows you to counterplay a battle card that's being played, 2 or less. I find that this particular one is better against certain matchups. The idea is to be able to hit Robotic Riposte or any sort of floodgate battle cards that play when you are declaring an attack. So I decided to just play one because most of the floodgates nowadays are extra cards. Namely, the ones in red are going to be the extra cards from Explosive Dance. In green, you have Dormant Potential Unleash, and you also have the, I believe this is the Gohan Negate. I forget the name of that one. But yeah, that's another extra card that people negate. So Bujin Space Pirate Psychic isn't really doing much in terms of being able to stop those. Now, if Robotic Riposte were to be played more commonly, which is sort of fallen off a little bit, or Bardock counterplay as well, or counterattack, then this card can be useful because it does snipe those cards. We'll go into the other ones, the Gokuas. There's 2 of them. This Gokua here is the one that allows you to play out a 1-cost Boujack Brigade. This is the reason why I play 12 Zangya targets, because you want to be able to play out a 1-drop from your hand in rest mode using this ability. All the Gokuas all replace themselves, and then you also draw a card and play them. So they're 15k power that you can play on the board. But for this one, yeah, you just play the 1-drop. This one, you counter a card. You combo with the card from the drop area, and then by combo a card with the drop area, you can fill up your Z energy, so you can play out your Boujack stuff. But yeah, this one also draws a card on play as well. Then we have the 4-drop Boujack. I only play 4 copies because this one gains critical, and it doesn't gain critical on the first attack. It gains critical on the second attack. So that's why I decided to only play 2 copies of it. I decided to play this Boujack right here, which is a blocker, and it restands himself. And you can play this guy for 1 energy, much like the other Boujack 4-drop. And then this one allows you to KO one of your opponent's battle cards. And also, it allows you to switch this card to active mode into the end of turn. Or at the end of the turn, sorry. So it provides blocking at the end of the turn after it attacks. And then it also allows you to KO one of your Boujack Brigade cards other than this card, so that you're able to put more cards into your Z deck face up using the Slaughter Begins. And by doing more, you're able to use the backside of your leader here to gain the plus 10k for attack. So it hits harder, and that's kind of the idea. Let's go into the Unison right here. The Unison is important as well because you need to be able to have something continuous on the board or permanent on the board that could KO a Boujack Brigade card every turn. So this is how you're going to do it. You're going to use the Boujack here to KO one of your Boujack cards and replace that card by drawing a card. The -3 ability, I haven't used it once yet, but what it does do is choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and it does KO it. So that's kind of the idea. And it also has a really nice permanent as well, where it cannot be attacked by one of your opponent's cards once you have a Boujack Brigade in play. The only issue is that removal is pretty easy to have on your battle cards. So just keep in mind that he could be vulnerable to a lot of different type of battle cards. I do decide to play the SS3 Broly in 3s in here, and the reason for this is because he does KO battle cards on your side as a skill, and so that can proc your time for the slaughter begin, so that you can have more cards in your Z deck, so that you can enable your Bujin counterplay cards. In other instances where you don't have these cards in your hand, then I guess you can go down to less than 3 cards in your Z deck. Okay, and let's go into the other cards I played. The Beto Super Combo is the one that's going to be replacing the green Super Combo from, I guess it won't replace Defending Father, but in some instances it can replace all of the Defending Father. It just depends on what kind of energy that you want to have. So if you want to play a mono green deck, this is the Super Combo that you want, because you're going to be feeling your Z energy to play this guy for free. So combo for 2, bottom deck, and draw 2. Older cards I decide to play is the Fatherly Son Solidarity. A good 8-drop that you can play, but I also want to play the Successor Engine. This is a very good staple green card, so very sought after SR that's coming out of the set that you can play on your following turns. For anytime you play a green deck or a yellow deck, you can basically successor this guy in, and then it makes your opponent discard 2. I think that's a very, very good trade-off, especially since there's a lot of 8-drops green card. You can just play it for free. Let's go into the Boujack here. The Boujack here is a card that removes Unison markers simply by attacking with this guy. So, and it also gets +5 and double strike if you place 2 or more cards from your Z deck into the drop. So every time you place a card from your Z deck into the drop area that are face-up Boujack cards, then you're able to remove that many markers, is essentially what it does. So it's kind of like a Unison killer, and it's pretty nice because sometimes you won't be able to attack Unisons, especially if you're playing the mirror match. If there is ever a mirror match, the Unison here can't be attacked, but you can circumvent the marker removal by doing a marker removal by attacking into any sort of battle card or Unisons or leaders, and then by attacking them, you're able to remove markers. So that's kind of a little nice tech. It is an SR. The main idea of this is to be able to KO one of your opponent's battle cards for the most part, but you can only play this when you have 4 or more energy. The other one is a different wild card. It basically taxes your opponent every time they want to attack with something that's not a leader. Once it is in rest mode, of course. So it also has a double strike ability, and you can play it for 2 energy, only when your opponent has 3 or more energy. So sort of like a way to basically play this when you are on the 4 turn. It has kind of like the same stipulation as this one, except this one explicitly says 4 or more energy when you have it, and then this one says it when your opponent has 3 or more energy. So that's basically when your opponent is on the same turn as you. So I guess you can play this on 3. So on your 3rd turn, your opponent's could be at 2. So no, so you have to play on a 4 turn. So on your 4th turn. So anyways, if it does try to get removed from the battle area by your opponent's skill, you can just place one of your Boujack Brigade from your Z deck into the drop instead. So sort of like a way to substitute his destruction. And then of course he draws a card on play, much like this one as well. This one actually doesn't draw a card on play, but this one does. So that's why I played 3 copies and 2 copies of this one as a Unison Destroyer. This is also an SR as well. So it looks like he's occupying most of the SRs out of the green parts. But I don't think he's going to be very expensive to play or to buy these cards. And of course, we play the Dormant Potential because we want to have Dormant Potentials to end our opponent's turn. We are playing green after all. And then we have the Cell Xeno as our SCR of choice because Bojacks are 8 cost, and then there's 4 cost Bojacks in the decks as well. So you can successful pretty well. In the event that you don't have the 4-drop Bojack, you can also send one of your Gokuas along with one of your Zongya or Bujin to successor this out. And that's basically going to be the end of the game once you're able to play this guy out and discard 3 cards from your opponent's hand and be able to do dual attack and double strike or quad strike. That's pretty much it for the most part. We've already gone through all the decks, so we're going to go into the gameplay video right after this. Okay, we're back here with the gameplay video for Boujack Brigade to see what the deck does on a turn-by-turn basis. So what we're going to do here is draw our 6 cards and then see what we can open up with. We already opened up with our Zongyas, 2 of them, so it seems to be a pretty ideal hand for the deck to work full by full. We're going to take our life out and make sure that we have 8. For the first turn, we're going to charge the Homicidal Clone because we kind of want to play the archetype as it is and less about the strategy. What we're going to do here is place 1 green card, Boujack Brigade, face up on our Z deck. Because the Z deck, when we play it on the Z deck in the untapped simulator, it'll just make it face down and then randomize it. So I want to make sure that it doesn't happen too much. So what we're going to do is put the Boujack here face up. And then we're going to look at the top 5 cards for a Boujack card and add it to our hand. And by the looks of it, we do have another Zongya here. I think I want to play as much Zongya as possible. And we also have the Gokua here that can play a 1-drop as well. So we kind of want to abuse that fact. So we're going to add another Zongya to our hand and then shuffle our deck. From here, we're going to use the 1 energy here to play the Zongya that allows us to look at the top 5 for Boujack Brigade. And then that's going to allow us to get a +1 pretty efficiently. Looks like we have more Zongyas here. And so that's where we're going to add another Zongya to our hand. Okay, so once we do that, we're going to Z-charge on our opponent's turn, and then that's going to allow us to play out our Slaughter Begins, and then we're going to take our turn again and then draw a card, and then we have more Zongyas that we can have. Since we already have a lot of Zongyas as is, we're going to put the Cruelty promo in our energy, and then we're going to pay the 1 energy here to basically play out the Time for Slaughter Begins, which is our important Z extra card. So we're going to be able to remove this if we want to play out a Boujack Brigade in our rest mode. That's why we play multiple copies of this because we are going to be using that ability pretty frequently. For now, what we're going to do is use the ability once more to place a Boujack card face up in our Z deck. So we're going to place yet another Zongya face up on our Z deck and then look at the top 5 cards for a Boujack Brigade. We're trying to find that Gokua that allows us to combo for free. And it looks like we didn't see it, but we're going to search for this Space Pirate instead. And then add it to our hand. And then from there, what we're going to do is attack on the front side with our leader. And that's going to proc the ability to draw a card. And then once we are mid-combo awakening, since we have 2 or more Boujack Brigade in our Z deck, we awaken, untap 1, and then we draw 1. So far so good. We now have 2 open energies we can use on our opponent's turns and as well as our turns. But we're probably going to tap out here or tap out 1, leave 1 open. We'll see. So from here, what we're going to do here is attack for leave it at 15k, and then from here we're going to pay the 1 energy here to basically play out a card that we can Z-charge. Since we can't Z-charge pretty well, we're going to need to play a battle card that we could do. Since we didn't open up a Gokua, we're going to proxy this Gokua out in our deck. And to show you guys that we need to play that card on the turn 2. We don't really need to, but it is efficient to do so. So we're going to add this Goku to our hand here because it is a very efficient card. So what we're going to do here is pay the 1 energy to play the Goku. This is going to allow us to combo from our drop area to fill up our Z energy. So that's what we're going to do. If you didn't have Goku, then you would have to combo on the Boujack attack here so that you can have the Z energy from your hand. Okay, from there, what you're going to do is pay the 1 energy to send the Zangya to the drop, and then you're going to play out the Boujack Brigade here, and then he's going to come in with 1 marker. Now from here, you're going to use the ability of the Slaughter to play out a Zangya. We're going to play this Zangya here in case we wanted to control our opponent, and then we're going to draw a card here. Using the Boujack Unison, we're going to play the +up marker to KO one of our mono green Boujack Brigade cards and then draw a card. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to KO the Zangya, and then we're going to draw a card. Using the Slaughter ability, we're going to place the Zangya face up in our Z deck. So now we have sort of like a control aspect going on our following turn. We don't have Dormant Potential Unleash, so it's most likely they're going to try to clear the Unison as much as possible. But to attack the Unison, they have to go through the Goku. So most likely what you're going to do here is to negate the attack on your opponent's turn. Don't forget to take life until you have 6. So that's what we're going to do here. And then we have the 6 life. We're going to negate an attack on our opponent's turn, limit 1 for free. So we're going to take life until we have 5. And this is going to allow us to combo the Bujin away so that we can protect our Goku. And by protecting our Goku, we can actually protect the Boujack simultaneously. Okay, so what we can do here on our opponent's turn, we can also use the ability to KO one of our cards and then make our Boujack stronger. We could do that, and I think that's going to be an okay idea. But first what we're going to do is combo away the Bujin, because most likely they're going to try to clear the Goku so that they can go after your Unison. And if they can't do that, then you can pretty much use the Boujack, let it die, so that's going to absorb an attack, and he's going to absorb 2 more attacks. So it's not too bad to be able to let your Goku die. Let's just say a worst case scenario, they take this out and they remove a marker off the Boujack. Okay, and then they lose on all their attacks. We're going to take a turn again. From here, we're going to charge this Bujin because I don't imagine we can use this card, but we could use this card to stop the floodgate cards like Robotic Riposte or Vegito Counterplay to basically floodgate us, but we can play this to negate it. So now we have the 3 energy, we can also play another card out of our deck. Don't forget that when we did play the Bujin to negate an attack, we get to draw a card because it is a Boujack card that is being played. So we're going to draw an extra card just because we forgot to do that. Okay, from here, what we're going to do is play yet another Goku. We're going to play this Goku out because he does play out a Zangya in rest mode. So that's what we're going to do here. Drawing a card to replace him, and then using the Boujack Brigade here to draw yet another card to replenish him as well. From here, we're going to use the ability here to play the Zangya in rest mode, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to play the Zangya in rest mode, and that's going to allow us to draw a card. And then we're going to use the Boujack here to KO the Zangya, putting this face up on our Z deck, and then drawing yet another card off the Boujack, giving him another +1 ability. We haven't used this ability here to play out a 1-drop, so since we have more Zangyas, we can actually place in rest mode, and this is going to allow us to draw yet another card because it does not limit 1 to draw a card. Okay, cool. So we have a healthy supply of Boujack Brigades. Let's try to use more cards that we can put stuff into the Z deck. Let's see what we can find here. We've already used this ability to put stuff in our Z deck. Let's use the Onslaught ability. So I guess we can use the Unison here. We can pay the 1 energy to place the Bujin in the drop area and then playing out the SS3 Broly here. The SS3 Broly requires that you place one of your deck's cards to the drop area. So before we do this, we're going to attack with this first, and then we're going to send this off to the drop area to pay 1 energy to play this out. And then we're going to use this ability to KO one of our non-unique battle cards, and then we're going to KO one of our opponent's cards, putting yet another card in our Z deck, and then we have a 20k beater, so that's pretty good. And then we attack with this guy, which is nice. And then we can leave 1 energy open. Since we don't have a Boujack, or we don't have the Dormant Potential Unleashed out of drawing so much, we can't really do much with this particular hand, but we could negate an attack with Bujin, which is kind of nice. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to, I guess we need to negate an attack right away to the Unison on our following turn. That's what we're going to do. On our opponent's turn, we're going to negate with the Beto here, or the Bujin here. We could pay the 1 energy, which is fine, so that's what we're going to do. Pay the 1 energy, proc the ability of our Boujack to draw a card, and then that's basically it. And then since we have a Bujin in active mode, they have to get rid of this guy if they want to attack our Unison, which is going to be very unlikely. Okay, so from here, they're probably going to clear the Broly somehow by using a skill, And then we could also KO on our opponent's turn, KOing the Boujack. So we can do that in case they go after our leader. Let's just pretend they did that. And then now we have our 6 cards in our Z deck, which is fine. And then we're going to take our turn again somehow. So now we have our Space Pirate. This is our turn where we get to play our big 8 drops, which is on turn 4. Feels pretty slow so far, but that's totally okay. Last turn we could have played this card out, so let's just pretend we had this guy out the last turn and tap out, and then negate using the Boujack by taking a life instead. So this is going to allow us to block an attack, which is kind of nice. And let's just say he sticks, for example, onto the Unison here. And then so yeah, we have a blocker that's 20k. Now we're on our 4th turn, and we're going to charge to our 4 energy. Since we have multiple copies of the Gokua, we are going to charge this out. And then on our 4th turn, this basically means we can play cards like this to be able to tax our opponent. That's what we're going to do. We're going to pay the 2 energy to play our Boujack. That's going to proc 2 things. That's going to allow us to draw a card using his ability, and then 1 card using the leader ability. So once he's in rest mode, that's when your opponent starts getting taxed, because every time they want to attack with anything besides the leader, they're going to have to discard a card from their hand, and that's going to be pretty bad for them because they're going to lose a lot of cards out in the end. So this card has to be removed from the battle area by opponent's skill. You can place 1 Boujack from your Z deck in the drop instead. So he has a lot of protection right away, and it's not once per turn. Actually, it is once per turn, so he can only protect himself once. Okay, so now we're going to use the ability here to attack, and then we're going to use the ability of the Slaughter to be able to play out a 1-drop from our hand. We do have another Zangya here, so now we have a late game Zangya here to allow us to draw a card. And then now we have pretty good control. We also have the Dorm potential as well as a negate. So looking pretty good so far. Now we're going to attack with our leader, and if we can actually afford to send the Zangyas to the drop area. So that we can restand this guy and hit for 25 on the first attack, and then hit again for 15k. So looking pretty good so far. And then we have our Boujack here to KO one of our cards, to draw a card. Let's not use that ability just yet. We're going to use our Gokua to be able to attack and then Z-charge right away. So we're going to Z-charge the Zangya right away. And now we have another monster or a card that we can use. Don't forget to draw off the Gokua ability. And then we're going to KO the Gokua here using the Boujack, placing the Gokua base face up on the Z deck so that we can get a +1 and then draw yet another card. So a lot of drawing right away. We could also use the successor ability, but we don't want to give up this particular Boujack yet. We'll use the successor ability on our following turn. So on our opponent's turn, we can probably use Dormant Potential Unleashed when they do decide to attack anybody by sending one of our cards to the drop. We're going to send this Boujack. We haven't used that Boujack just yet. And then what we're going to do, they're probably going to attack this guy, but let's just pretend that he's supposed to be in active mode at the end of the turn. We're going to block the attack to the Dorm Potential, and then we're going to negate with the Boujack without taking life because we have 1 energy open. All right, looking pretty good so far. So now we're going to untap our energy, and then we're going to go our 5 energy turn, which I haven't been doing as of late. Our super combo seems to be pretty dead. We're going to need to find a way to put another Z deck, Z energy. So that's what we're going to try to do here. We're going to try to put another Z energy so we can play our super combo. So yeah, so we're going to play the 2 energy first so that we can play our Boujack. Our Bojack's going to proc the ability to draw a card and then KO one of our opponent's battle cards. And then if we want to attack with this guy and remove markers, we could do that by losing on some of the cards in our Z deck. We want to keep at least 3 in our Z deck so that we can play our free negates with Boujack. We still have 1 more left in our deck, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the ability of the Boujack here to KO this Boujack, putting this in our Z deck and then drawing a card. And then we are at 3 now. We have another Dorm potential. We can also KO more if we want to. I think that's what we're going to do later. Yeah, so we're going to attack with the Boujack here to remove markers if we want to. If not, then he's just going to hit for 30k. And then what we can do here is successor him away for 1 energy because he's already served his purpose. And then we're going to play this guy out, making him discard 2 and then discard attacking. If we really want to attack, we can do that and get double strike. All right, so we need to find a way to play more Zangyas. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the Zangyas in play with the Slaughter, and then that's going to allow us to draw a card on play. And then we can use his ability to attack, KO. Once we attack, we can KO the Zangya, put us in the Z deck, and then ready the Boujack here. So a lot of offense and a lot of defense. We can hit for 30k again for 30k double strike. And then we don't have to sell Xeno yet. That's the only thing we haven't done yet, and we haven't done the Boujack here. But we can pay the 1 energy if we want to play the Boujack, and then we can attack and then use critical to KO the Zangya, and then we have 3 again, and then we attack with this, and then place 3 things in our drop area to restand the leader and hit for 25k on the first attack. And now he's hitting for 25 and then 15 yet again. Let's see what else we haven't done yet. Let's look at our Z deck. Looks like we've done most of the things already, and then let's look at our deck to see what we haven't done yet. And we haven't done the Cell Xeno, but for the most part, we've already done most of the skills off our archetype, and that's going to be the end of this video. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the spoiler video for green, and that's pretty much how you play the turn-by-turn with the Boujack. Seems to be a pretty good green leader going forward, but I think I prefer to play the Trunks leader because it has more play lines. But the Boujack is not bad at all because of the promo, being able to control stuff on your opponent's turn, and then being able to draw a lot of cards on your opponent's turn as well as your turn when you're negating an attack. Sometimes I forget to draw a card by negating an attack when I do play the Bujin, so I'm going to definitely don't forget to do that. We already have 10 cards in our deck, and we probably negate it at least twice. So in actuality, at the end of this, we still have 12 cards in our hand with a lot of combo power and a lot of different plays we can do. But I hope you guys have been enjoying all the spoiler videos for the set 25, and I'll see you guys on the next one if the Bandai decides to do yet another set for Masters, and I'll be there every step of the way. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next spoiler videos. Peace.